best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I think this guy has it right. So let me read to you his mail here. It says, "Hey Perch, how are you? Hope you're doing well in the heat that mimics hell. I say this as someone who lives in Atlanta. Atlanta's more humid, right? Everybody, I'm still wondering if some nightmare is coming to me in another month or two. Because right now it's mid-April, and it's not bad. And I've been in heat before. If you've ever been in Tokyo in August, that is hell. That's 100% humidity and 95 degrees, and that is just pure absolute nightmare. Anyway, we'll see what Texas is like. So he says, I got a question. Is it just me, or does all entertainment feel like it's a billion or bust? I feel like we don't see safer bets or just medium growth. Let's take movies for a moment. There are always big summer blockbusters, but rom-coms, dramas, and other actions would be more middle of the road, the horror you could make for cheap. It was great when a big movie paid off. It was great. It kept all the gears running. Now it's either cheap as possible, streaming, or $1 billion. Comics sadly aren't making billions, but Batman or bust? Like the big heavy or nothing. I'm not saying they should lose money, but wouldn't it be smart to try and build up some other brands, have some more diversity, and not rely on just a few things? Maybe I'm crazy. No, you're not crazy. It would be absolutely smart for them to build up some other stuff and not rely on a couple of big brands. I mean, I think it's tough though, because I I don't. This is where I don't understand the internet. So somebody sent me this thread where they were bitching about me, and it's like, Perch is always it's that same dude, bro. You know, all the words you put in the misogynist. You know, no women and black people can't be in comics. But the video they were talking about, where they were making that assumption of me, was where I was saying DC is too reliant on Batman. And the last I checked, Batman is a white dude, straight white dude. Last I looked. Now, granted, things are changing very quickly now, but that is what he is. I understand that Jace Fox is out there doing his thing, but that's not who I'm talking about when I say too much Batman. So I'm not really getting the racist, misogynist stuff when I'm saying the company should not be reliant so much on their white dude character. So what is your point exactly? When you come to realize this, for a lot of people, it's just, is this person complaining about comics? I can score points by complaining about the person complaining about comics, and I'll call them these names. That's all it winds up being. But that's been my stance for a while. It's bad to have so much of your company's interest and IP and the stuff you're creating and everything else. It's bad when you're all in on one thing, and that's what's going on right now. People are in on just one thing. It's Batman. I mean, to some extent, it's Spider-Man. That's all they have, and it's incredibly destructive. And it is. I do think you're right. It becomes this billion or bust. It's like, Batman is successful, and only Batman is successful. So let's keep doing things with just Batman, because Batman's where the safe money is. But I mean, if you keep running down that, first of all, I mean, you're allowing nothing else to come into the picture and eventually become big if you play that way. And the other thing is, I mean, you're going to kill off, what's killing off the golden goose, I think, is the expression. It's exactly what you're doing. You're hitting the accelerator pedal on burning out interest in your character, because the reality is everything burns out eventually. There is no property that you can just continue to milk and milk and milk and milk forever, and it will just work out. Eventually, things hit their saturation point. And we've seen this. We saw it with Wolverine. We've seen it with the X-Books. We've seen it with, we saw it with Deadpool. We've seen it with Harley Quinn. We are seeing it with Batman right now in real time. We're seeing the exhaustion set in. And this is all heading to a bad place. This is not sustainable, what's happening right now. It is very, very destructive to these brands to continuously just milk them to death. And that's That's what we're doing. I think that it's perfectly fine to have some comics selling in the 25,000, 30,000 range, as long as you know that's your strategy. That is your intent from the beginning. We're going to intentionally pursue a strategy that is got a couple comics in our lineup that are not going to have as much attention, that are, indie bets, and every now and then one of them will pop. And if we're smart about it, we can collect them up in certain ways, so that over time, maybe we can even take some of these books that are selling 20,000. We can bring them back later in some kind of anthology type. I mean, imagine a world where the anthology was a reprinting of comics that didn't sell very well because they never found their audience. Or maybe you take these books and you take them to a brand new place where they have some life to them. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can make this work. But what absolutely doesn't work is taking the one thing that's popular and then making it the center of gravity for everything else. If every Hollywood movie was basically, it's got to be a giant summer blockbuster, $250 million budget, going to make $1 billion. That's a fast way to drive yourselves bankrupt, as some studios have seen. That again, this is a terrible strategy. This is not the way you run a company, but it absolutely is the way that people are running their companies. That's the problem. So I don't know where. I mean, unfortunately, it's addictive, and once you set down this path, once you commit to it, you get yourselves in kind of a bad position where it's almost impossible to right the ship, to turn it around. If you get hooked on this money, if you get hooked on basically cash this way, then you face a really dangerous position where you over leverage yourself on just a couple properties, and they are eroding out from under you, which I think is exactly what's happening to DC right now. And so it's like, quick, throw some more variant covers on there, do some more of this, and before long, you've got nothing. You didn't seed any kind of new market. This is exactly how these companies go out of business. This is how they implode, and we're watching it, and they will implode. I don't say this with joy. I think there are lots of people who are begging for this to happen. I'm not begging for it to happen. I don't want to see them self-destruct, but I mean, my hope is that somebody will finally wake up and say, "Hey, we need to change some strategy here, because we're on the road. We're absolutely sending ourselves into bankruptcy very quickly. We're making ourselves irrelevant. That's what's going on with comics. I don't want to see them get there. I don't think it's not too late, because there's a lot of brand equity that's built up in these properties. I mean, clearly, because they're milking the living hell out of Batman. But we're getting closer and closer to that day. There will come a point of no return, and and then and then it will be too late. So it worries me. Anyway, I think it's a good point. People can't shoot. Everything can't be $1 billion bet. If everything is $1 billion bet, then yeah, it's a cliche. Nothing is a $1 billion bet. And I think that's the world we're at right now. But anyway, wonderful question. Good insights. That's how I view it. What about you? Do you? I don't know. Also, I don't want to see a $1 billion Hollywood movie, a summer blockbuster every movie. I don't want that. I actually like to see some art house stuff. I like to see some indie stuff. Some of my favorite films are low budget, kind of simple stuff. I mentioned before, David Lynch, one of my favorite directors. Here's a guy who I think, don't give him a big budget. He works best when he doesn't have one, and he can produce some pretty amazing stuff. But anyway, let me know what you like in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.